That's the footage. Here's the story that goes with it. It was around 1 p.m. on October the 20th, 1967. Patterson and Gimlin were riding north up the Bluff Creek in California. They rounded a bend and saw the creature. Patterson pulled the camera from his saddlebag and began filming. After about 11 seconds, he began to run closer, and as he did, Bob rode closer still, to within 20 meters of the creature. He covered Roger with his rifle until the subject walked away.
We got it!
Using the latest computer technology, we've stabilized the film so it's easier to see. Now, you might think it looks like a man in a suit, but so would the legendary Bigfoot. The question is, which is it? From what we can see, the fur is pretty convincing. It flows correctly down the back, and you can apparently see muscles moving under the skin. But would any shy, wild animal react to the arrival of two strange, excited men on horseback by just strolling away with a single glance back? For me, its behaviour is definitely odd. Footage is one thing. The creature left traces, and to substantiate the film, there were footprints in the sand. Incredibly, they were deeper than the ones left by Bob's horse. Each hoof would put down a weight of 400 kilos. But the depth of these prints suggests the creature was even heavier. Yet the average weight for a 6-foot male gorilla is only 180 kilos. Roger reloaded his Kodak and filmed them. Then they took plaster casts. Some measured 37 centimeters long. And this is one of them. So are these here the remainder of the cast that he made? Because they're very different, and they're obviously made by the same animal in the same place at the same time.
That's right. This probably represents the actual shape of the foot fairly closely, but sometimes the action of the foot makes a very different shape. This is another one that has a very strange shape. In fact, it is just the way that heel drove in and then shifted the weight up to the front.
The impressions are good, very natural, but their depth suggests the creature was far heavier than a gorilla the same size. So could these critically corroborative footprints be fakes? The Patterson film is at the nub of the whole Bigfoot phenomena. It's kept it alive for the last 30 years. And its strength lies in the fact that it's real film and it's combined with actual artifacts, the footprints. The problem is that you never see the creature on the creature film make a footprint. And the film of the footprints disappeared immediately after it was first shown. And that is a problem. The biggest Bigfoot event of all was recorded near Bossburg on the Canadian border. A total of 1,089 footprints were found trodden into mud and snow. They cross a 1.1 metre high fence without a break in stride. The tracks appear to be of a very long-legged creature, but curiously, also a crippled one. Its right foot had twisted toes and displaced bones, something that would be unusual, but at the same time very natural. At Washington State University, primate anatomist and Bigfoot author Dr. Grover Krantz has studied the bone positions in meticulous detail.
A human foot expanded to this length would have the bulges about here. This means the heel was relatively longer and the forefoot relatively shorter, which is just exactly the leverage required for a walking biped of about 8 feet or 2.5 meters tall.
That's some quite complex aspects of anatomy there. Do you think that any hoaxer anywhere would be up to reproducing those?
If any hoaxer was to do this sort of trick, he would have had to figure out everything from zero, whereas I saw the tracks and figured it out. He would have had to know human anatomy, foot anatomy very thoroughly. He would have to know the effects of absolute size on how the strength increases but the weight increases faster, how the leverage has to change, how a diseased foot would have to bulge out to the side of the corresponding parts. In other words, he has to be a better anatomist and a more clever, inventive person than I am. And I don't think anybody like that has existed since Leonardo da Vinci.
In fact, a proven Bigfoot hoaxer lives very close to Bossburg. I can't explain all of these accounts, but they don't fuse into any framework of biological possibility that Bigfoot could exist as a real animal. So what about the crucial Patterson footage? What biology does it contain? John Green was the first to investigate it. He reconstructed the event just 9 months later. This is Jim McLoughlin, 6'5" tall, walking the same route as the Bigfoot. He'd been to Bluff Creek when the tracks were still plainly to be seen, so he knew the route it took. With a digital effects device, we can precisely match the two separate pieces of film and show that the creature was only a bit taller than McLoughlin and a little bulkier. But the footprints suggest that it was at least 4 times as heavy. The movement has always been controversial as well. Grover Krantz thinks the gait of the creature is definitely inhuman.
The Patterson creature walks leaning forward somewhat and bends its knees most of the time, so that when it takes a step, it supports the leg with a bent knee and keeps 2 feet on the ground for an unusual length of time. It also lifts the foot very high behind each step, like so. In addition to all those things, it also swings the arms, which is very difficult to imitate, like this. And this is something I can do only for a short period of time, but the Patterson subject did it for at least 300 feet, and I don't think anyone could be trained to do that.
Personally, I'm not so sure. Grover himself just did his version of the walk for 30 feet. With 10 times the practice, maybe someone could walk 10 times further. Whatever, everything Bigfoot leads to Patterson and to Bluff Creek, so I decided to pay homage to the site. 31 years later, it's all steep valleys, rocky creek beds, and certainly nothing that looks like the area where the film was shot. But in 1964, there'd been a massive flood, and it had ripped out all of the scrub and deposited lots of sandbars here, and for once, it had created a window of opportunity for someone to see a mysterious creature, or to pull off a fabulous hoax.